Today we're looking at the Elven Star of Neptune, the 7 points that represent the totality of Neptune's message or meaning. And if we think about Neptune as being to do with creativity, and yet creativity in a much more subtle and profound sense than artworks, we create our perceptions moment by moment. And collectively, we create our perception of what's going on in the world and what humanity is doing collectively. And we're always wrong about that. It's an illusion. This is what the Hindu scriptures would have as Maya. Neptune represents that principle. And as it changes, right now it's moving from Pisces, where it's been for 13 years or so, into Aries. It's in Aries now in the first few degrees. It's been going forward and now it's going backwards. It will go into Pisces pretty soon. Right now, it's still in the first degree of Aries, having gone forward to the second degree recently. So we're looking at Neptune in the first degree of Aries today. The first Elven star point is the first degree of Aries. So, any points arising about the meaning of Neptune? Anything that you want to say, Loik?
Yeah, and I do believe that I see, based on what you just said, that the Elven Star of Neptune, we often associate creativity with art. And if we are toward in the Sacred Seven Academy, we put an emphasis on looking at Neptune through the theme of creativity. And in now, there is a opening of that word where this is not only related to art, but it is related to narrative making. Um, and that's what we are really going to see with the seven aspects of that and how it is complementing the way that we either create narrative or uphold narrative or hold narrative already in place. So I'm excited about this conversation in seven ways.
Yeah, I think we're also looking at the collective. Any artwork is a personal expression of how that person is
Right.
perceiving and how they're feeling right now. This is a much wider sense of, because when we're creating our own reality, we co-create it with the people in our reality.
Yeah.
So that's a much bigger source of input, and it is a deeper sense of creativity.
Okay. So we are going to go on to our first and to introduce this Elven star Neptune at 1 degree Aries. And the first point, which has a no ground in the word system to it, it speaks about illusion, disillusionment, clear-sighted in mysticism, confusion about normal standards.
Yeah. First of all, those principles are really clearly in our minds at the moment. There's a lot of confusion. And this is partly because Neptune's very nature, its effect, its call upon our attention is enhanced. It's in a very powerful position. The first degree of Aries is the beginning of it all. And so Neptune is emphasized because of its uh, position in the first degree of Aries. Now, the Sabian symbol itself for Aries 1, a woman rises out of water. A seal rises and embraces her. This is the beginning. So you have from the oceans of potential, the waters that are not yet formed into reality, something arises, a feminine principle, a woman, and it's met by a masculine principle. The seal is very phallic. And so you have the possibility then of something. If the seal had not risen up to meet her, there would be nothing. That particular potential reality wouldn't exist. It wouldn't met. So we're looking at the meeting of potential to make something happen. The recognition of potential is the strap line here. Everything existing has had its first beginnings in the realm of potentiality, the ghost of an idea not formed, neither expressed nor explicit yet, in seed form, containing the unconscious potential for mature realization. Now, if we look upon our Neptunian vision at the moment, what are we all hoping for? What are we all seeing as the potential of what could be? Then you would have to understand, I think, that we don't really have much agreement about that. This is a very uncertain time indeed. There are people that want extremes one way and extremes the other way that cannot be reconciled. Well, we have to affirm that there's something else going on where the confusion of the moment is an advantage. Because what happens in confusion is that no firm decisions are taken. And so no crystallized uses of energy are brought to bear. The energy of the moment, the existential, no, the existence energy of our lives, it's not committed. And so that gives rise to the possibility of a new initiative on the spiritual level. We can come up with a new narrative of our spiritual direction much more easily when there's no concretization of our potential. That's where I would start this discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, emergence out of the realm of potentiality into the realm of reality. That really speaks on what are we imagining? What is um what is your direction? What is the vision that you first need to imagine? You imagine the future that you want to practice. So I feel like it's very glaring in this first point that it is about look at your vision, look at what you imagine, trying to see, I mean, not trying to see, but look at the things that you probably, the illusion maybe of power that exists within it, that is without roots, for example, because there is that also about coming to terms with the reality at hand and juxtapose that with what you are imagining to create in the world.
Yeah,
So
that's a good
there
point.
is,
Your vision has to tie up with what is right now. You can't just dream up something which is irrelevant to today. And I think the point is that unless you're really clear about what your vision is, there is no possibility of that potential being met because you're just not defining it. Most visions fail because they're not envisioned properly. And that's what the seal represents, the masculine principle saying, okay, you feel you'd like this future. Exactly what do you mean by that? It's an analytical, the masculine principle. What do you mean? What are you saying exactly? And most of my clients, they don't know what they want. They don't know what they want with, they're so confused about that
yeah,
that I have to ask them questions before they can even get on the right track, let alone the
yeah,
defined kind of outcome that they're specifically wanting.
yeah. I love also this aspect of becoming the essence seed of the soul incarnation. There is also a way that people imagine new futures, imagine new ways, and it's not steeped in, it's not soul incarnated. It's performance driven. And I feel like there is definitely there is something here in this degree to be really mindful and careful of the different type of vision and different type of imaginings that is seductive. Um, by all means, if you want to call it visionary, but again, it's the illusion of power that is within this imaginal realm or that imagination is without roots, and it's without your presence in it. It's just something that you imagine to that will actually maybe reinforce harm. And I'm going a little bit forward here by saying that, but I think there is also an aspect of discerning what is this that we are imagining that is going to be towards conquest rather than what you said earlier about co-creation. um and I think there is this warning, right off the bat, with this. I feel like there is an aspect of make sure that whatever that you are envisioning is in kinship with nature, or that you are living, that whatever that you imagining is in relationship with the more than human world, almost. There's a nature aspect really glaring in this first degree.
And it has to be your own nature as well, your
Right.
soul's
Yeah.
nature. You can't copy somebody else's dream and hope that you want to be a rich billionaire. I mean, you wouldn't want it. It's just silly nonsense. But the soul knows what it wants to feel like. It doesn't care how it manifests that feeling. It's almost certainly nothing to do with fame and fortune.
Okay. I think anything else you wanted to add in this one?
Oh, that's a good start.
Okay. So let's go to the second one. Let's go to the second one. So we are going into the second Elven Star of Neptune. And this one, which has a hello quality to it, within the word system, has to do with glamour, an ability to mystify, reading between the lines, empathy, telepathy, and illusionist. Tell us a little bit about this.
The word glamour needs to be defined a little bit. We create an image to present to the world in order to effect our goals and our purposes. And that might be, in my case, I've got a certain appearance, I've got a certain way of speaking, I've got a website. That's all part of my interface with the world. And we all build that, you know, and the glamorous woman puts on lipstick and nice hairstyle, and the glamorous man a suit and tie, but the glamorous magician puts on a different gown, and we've all got this approach to the world. And when that's actually taken into the public realm, the glamour that we have is something like we're all wanting things like mobile phones and televisions and cars, and that's the glamour, the very glamour of fame and fortune. So that's the kind of thing that is the collective illusion, and it's just nonsense. It doesn't make people happy. We're going for something on the basis that that will be what will make us happy, where there's no evidence that it does. So anyway, Virgo 5 is where this Neptune point is, the second point. A man dreaming of fairies,
Okay.
envisioning. Couldn't be more apt. There are subtle levels of energy that surround and permeate us and everything else. Even scientists and dry philosophers can agree upon this. And one way or another, most of us can perceive and even feel it. Yet for us to bring that feeling into better awareness, we must name it and give it a form, typically through anthropomorphism. In imagination, we turn flows and concentrations of energy into stories that read like fairy tales in order better to know the unknowable. So very Neptunian, this energy. And I have to say that I think this describes very well something of an obsession that people have with ETs.
Okay.
The idea of first contact is, in my imagination, very firmly right now. I'm expecting it to happen even within my lifetime. And when we imagine alien species, we anthropomorphize an energy form, as we do with God. Most people think of God in the form of a man. It's just an energy form. It's like electricity more than that's a very much closer image of God than a man with a white beard is electricity. And so this dumbs down our imagination. And if you actually really let the imagination go wild about the realms, the reach of our potential and possibilities, it's vastly more complex and rich than what we do imagine. That's even true of our normal lives, let alone our soul's life, eventual life after death. We're terribly poor in our imagination and negative as a species.
Yes. The moment that you read it, I had this aha moment. I couldn't like I wanted to speak because it's I'm seeing it around us is we do need to recognize that whatever that we are creating start in our imagination, start with the world that we are making in our imagination. It start there. So for me, this degree, especially in the hello, show us that we need already to we have to we get to look at whatever people are imagining as as a reflection of whatever that they are saying. Whenever that you are saying something, whatever that you are in the podium, the media, and everything like that, whatever that they say is straight out of the world making that they are making. And so we need to read between the lines, reach out to whatever the worlds that they are saying through their stance. I believe that there's sometimes we will look at glamour as something that is just based on maybe the way that they present and stuff. And I feel like it's valid. And I believe that in this moment, we need to look at glamour as also the world that you are creating through your speech.
Oh
What
yeah,
is it? What is it that you are
yeah.
you are molding? But the moment you open your mouth, I have a peek at your imaginal realm and the world that you are making. I feel like sometimes it's just so hard to recognize that, but I feel like because it is the hello point, it just shows that it is imperative now to start looking at the world that people are creating from the moment that they open their mouth and assess that what you're saying is the world that you are in. It is your imaginal world. It is the things that you are imagining, and start assessing
It is
whatever the character from there.
two sides to this. This is one of the most difficult things I have in my relationship with students and clients, that the difficulty in understanding what you've just said is strong enough. People just don't get that their words create their reality, despite the fact that in the beginning is the word. It's like a really fundamental Christian teaching. Nevertheless, people don't get that that is still true now, not millennia ago. So that's the first thing. And yet, even those who actually understand this and agree have then a very difficult job monitoring that the words that come out of their mouth are positive. It's a very difficult job. And I've just done it myself. It's a very difficult job. I've just enacted the negativity that I'm discussing. And I'm practiced. I've been trying to make positive my speech for decades. It's just something that we need to concentrate on.
Yeah, I think it's something that this degree showed us, and I feel like it's going without time that, and also when people are talking the word that they are talking, believe them. This is this Maya Angelou very famous quote of, if someone telling you they are, believe them. I never really understand that because I'm like, I feel like they are not telling us who they are. They are performing something. So I don't quite get it, but now I've truly, fully get that it is who they are right now. It might not be representative of the truth of who they are, but I'm going to believe the world that you're creating. This is your station right now. This is where you are. And I need to deal with the world that you are making, either for yourself, I mean,
Yeah,
especially for yourself, but for other people.
absolutely. In
Yeah.
in in my training as an accountant, we had to understand the principle that a mistake and the intention to defraud are of equal consequence. It doesn't
Mm,
whether you intended to make a mistake or not. The fact that you did make a mistake, in other words, under declaring your income tax or whatever,
okay.
I made a mistake. That's your problem, not mine, says the tax man. It's the same with words. If you constantly talk words of negativity and depression and failure, that is who you are. That's what you are doing right now. And you got to just come to terms with that. Whatever your feelings about intentions might be, doesn't make any difference. What the words are, that's the reality.
Yeah. Intention doesn't negate impact. So, yeah. Okay. Let's continue with this. Uh, go to the third point about Elven Star of Neptune. Has a thanks ground to it in our word system, and it speaks to love of dreams, dreams of love, fairy story romance.
Yeah, this is Neptune's uh, living happily ever after lie that people
Okay.
fall for every time. As though, just because you've got a feeling at the moment, it's going to last indefinitely. It doesn't last more than a split second. It's a momentary thing. Every feeling that we have is transient. And so, whatever we feel we love right now, we won't feel this the same way down the line a bit. Now, in Aquarius 10, we have a popularity that proves ephemeral. It's quite interesting. Remaining humble during moments of popularity. As we engage with archetypes and tune in to their power and wisdom, we have also to find the ability to forget ourselves as people and surrender our egotism into the higher consciousness. We are not archetypes and not able to withstand the projections upon ourselves of an ideal which is necessarily beyond human attainment. We are people and we need to be in touch with our vulnerabilities and faults. It is important occasionally to look again at what we have become and who we really are. So it's exactly what we were talking about. You might fall in love with this lover and not remember that that feeling is transient, and you get married before you've had your first row. That's the kind of thing that we're talking about here. Or like in the case of politics, Trump has come up with this lovely idea of what tariffs will do to help America become great again, without kind of noticing that that feeling doesn't check out in reality. And what he's done is illusory. It won't help the economy. It'll do exactly the opposite. It operates on every level. This um, very temporary nature of anything. Popularity, we all get our 15 minutes, don't we? And then we're an ex-president. And there's nothing quite as pathetic as an ex-president, is there really?
I think it really speaks to death to the idolization cult thing that we have. I don't know if it was, see, me not being an astrologer sometimes, now I'm getting the feels of the themes of shit of planetary position. Maybe in Neptune, in Pisces, there were probably this aspiration of really idolizing and really be completely immersed in celebrity culture and what they represent to us, how they glamour and that all of those things based on who they are, based on what they do, their accomplishment. I just mess with our perception of them. And now in Neptune in Aries, I feel like, and especially with this Elven Star and the completeness of what Neptune in Aries is, which include this based on our system, it has this element of leveling the playing field. Those people are like you. There's not supposed to be a standing up a pedestal that you have to put those people in. And I think there's this aspect of leveling it. Look popularity as it is. Look at celebrities as they are, just people. Look at Trump as it is, and not looking at someone to look up look up to. You can be inspired by people. I just feel that people get to now take more of an aspect of inspiration than an aspect of looking up to. I feel like you immensely powerful and you can be inspired by others, but this aspect of learning here and moving yourself to other people envisioning of life and immersing in that as if it was what needs to be done as a collective. I think we need to detach ourselves from that and start kind of working towards ourselves. And yeah, and looking at our soul qualities and what we are imagining and focusing on that as the primary focus. Um, I mean, make sure that this is our primary focus, then anyone else in our ears and whatever beautiful accomplishments that they are moving and how they are in the world. I think there is this aspect of making sure that we completely divest from celebrity culture. And it's because I'm living in America, it's so prevalent. And I'm like, well, look, we coming into things that you kind of need to divest from this. What do you think?
I, wouldn't that be lovely? Won't that be lovely when it happens? I think anyone who's reached a very high level of celebrity and is also humble is the rarest of qualities in a person and the most beautiful. And I saw a movie last night actually about a Buddhist monk who walked from China in the 7th century to go to India to pick up the Dharma and brought the scriptures back to China. And it took 4 years to walk and 4 years back, you know. And he was, raised in celebrity, and he never lost his humility. It
Yeah.
made him more humble the more he was raised, the more humble he became. And that would be a tremendous achievement, wouldn't it, for us to be humble in our attainments?
Yes. And because of the point just earlier, just the point just before, was talking about, okay, we need to focus on the world making in this in our imagination. And it's almost like the narrative making that's already started in our imagination apply to everyone, regardless of regardless of class, regardless of economic status, and regardless of the tax bracket that you're participating in. And I think there is a move collectively, but also I'm moving that way, especially, I mean, personally, in recognizing people not based on their accomplishment, but really the world that they are making with other people.
Yeah, one of the difficulties you got with that is our animal nature. We tend to respond to alphas in a certain way, and it's written in our DNA. So I don't think we're going to be able to eradicate that behavior all that easily. It's good to be aware of it, I think, is all, just to try and remain more humble as you get more influence.
Yes, I think it's valid. Okay, so let's go move to the fourth point, Elven Star of Neptune. Uh, Fourth point, finesse, seamless transformation, escape, inability or unwillingness to confront or commit, powerful dreams and vision.
Well, the Sabian symbol Cancer 14 is very old man facing a vast dark space to the northeast. It's the image of a sage in meditation. Remembering eternal truth is the strapline. The archetype of an enlightened one is often portrayed as a wise man. We think of Buddha, Lao Tzu, Plato, and the association is with the unbending singular dedication to the study of truth. A wise old man, I should have said. Beneath all that changes and above all visionary aspirations is something that endures and is ever stable, basic, and true. To live in remembrance of this is a profound spiritual wisdom. So it's putting into context whatever we're doing, it's only small potatoes. It's of no consequence when measured against eternal truths. And I think that helps with the humility when you
It does.
you get that you're nothing. We're all central to an amazing life. We're everything, but compared to eternal life of the soul, we're nothing. We're sort of pinprick.
Does, and it does strengthen the point of whatever world that you are making. Um, you can never, you can't possibly go wrong when you embed internal truth, lasting truth within the world that you create. And that apply actually to celebrities because of their platform, because of their obvious visibility. They reach people by virtue of their fame. So that's one. And then well, we want to think that because of the status that you have and the influence, the reach that you have, that you kind of have a responsibility in the way that you are navigating that. The thing that I'm actually recognizing here, which is the fourth point, does with finesse, and the word that I want to focus on is really seamless transformation, is how this the visibility that we want the once I mean the visibility that once had that one has, steeped in internal truth, steeped in lasting truth, is even more transformative to themselves, but also to the people that they are influencing. um and I like that. I like this is a powerful dream, and this is a powerful vision by virtue of the remembrance of this, or whatever that you want to create. And we all going to have a different narrative making, a narrative creating in this. Remembering to grasp and create from internal truth, from those things, it's powerful. I think it's a good reminder here.
Yeah, we must be moving in this direction. We have to be. I mean, there has to be an awakening of eternity, the awareness that we're within eternity. That's the awakening necessary.
All right, I guess we are moving into the fifth here. Utopian visions of a spiritual world. Fifth point about Elven Star of Neptune. Dreaming big, shared dreams, mystical awareness, hidden maneuvering.
Well, what we have is Sagittarius 18, tiny children in sunbonnets. And this is the warning to guard against overload. The sunbonnets sort of represent a bit like the tin hats in conspiracy theorists' lore, protecting yourself from emanations. In this case, the sunbonnet protects you from the sun, the emanations of radiant heat. But we're talking about energies, cosmic energies are coming our way, and we're going to be opening up to them, and we have to make sure that we're protected from overload. There's going to be a lot of people opening up to energies that they're unused to in the times ahead, and we got to guard against overload. That which is not essential within us is always subject to the perils of nature. We live ever on the edge of death and disorder. Society, through its laws and cultural norms, and parents, through their authority and concern, tend to want to protect the individual, especially the child, from the dangers of too much exposure. Such protection is itself a danger if taken too far, because some will succumb to its comfort and others will rebel incautiously against its constraints. That's an interesting point, isn't it? We can be too safe or not safe enough. And, there's that point where our vision for the future, let's say we're envisioning a spiritual future where everybody's, enlightened and walking around being nice to each other. That actually generates a silliness in the psyche. That's nonsense. We can't move from where we are now to that overnight. It's a process, because to be in that world where everybody's loving and kind and spiritual, that's a high vibration. And we're existing at the moment on a fairly low level vibration where we like eating other things that are alive, and we like bombing each other because we don't agree with their politics. We're at a very low level of vibration. We can't suddenly take on the high vibrations of universal love. It just cannot happen. And so people who are envisioning that, they're kind of sort of spoiling things, really. It's not an advantage to envision something which is outright silly and dangerous, which this would be. We've got to be a bit circumspect.
I think this is speaking directly to corporations. Limit your exposure to excitement about AI. That should be the title of our video today. Because basically, I think this is what it is, guarding against overload. We just look at how they took one thing that was really new and they were like, oh, there is potential of making a lot of money. Let's do this. This is excitement. This is excitement towards something new. You don't know the things, but it's probably going to give you more greed, more influence, more power. You go all in. And now we are facing ethics issues. It's everywhere. This is, you see where it's going with our society and the indulgence in that. There is things that you are taking from other regional. I mean, it's something that has existed, where now it's even deepened with the way that we are using AI and the way that we are thinking about the opportunity that AI is presenting to us. So I feel like limiting our exposure to excitement is definitely a message for every kind of corporations, small businesses, whoever who thinks, okay, with the little powers that is bestowed upon me in creating this new venture that people are truly interested in because of that newness and this capability, put some guide rails around your excitement. Look at really what you do. Again, imagination, the world making that you are creating with that. And yeah, like limit your excitement and not limit your exposure to limit your excitement towards the thing, because there is consequences that is globally felt, personally, but also globally felt. So that's where my mind went when I heard this.
Very good.
Okay. So let's go to the sixth one. So forgiveness at saintly level. Six, self-sacrifice. Martyr. How do you say martyr?
Martyr.
Martyr. Martyr. Loss of focus. Very dreamy. Okay, so forgiveness at saintly level. Self-sacrifice. Martyr. Loss of focus. Very dreamy.
Yeah. Um, so Taurus 23 is the jewelry shop. The idea of being able to take a diamond from the earth and polish it up and make it better than it was, improvement upon nature. Our life path moves us irrevocably through circuitously, sorry, our life path moves us irrevocably, though circuitously, towards greater and greater demonstrations of personal excellence. This arises through the twin processes of becoming increasingly aware of our given potential and the refining of that raw material into even more impressive, shining facets. So, this is all about polishing our personality by the friction of interaction with each other,
Right.
self improvement. So, the vision that we have is as much a truth of who we are as the words we use to express it, which you drew attention to earlier. Now, when you have that vision, especially when you verbalize it, what will happen is that there'll be friction,
Yep.
and the rubbing together of people, rubbing along to get along with someone, that very often is intolerable if it's taken to too high a degree. But it's necessary. We have to understand that our essential nature is raw and unpolished. And that's the animal within us, shall we say. Whereas our soul nature is perfect and has the joy of developing through the enhanced personality. If we can improve our ego selves, in other words, the soul can shine through much more clearly.
Yeah. My mind went here, the improving upon nature is sometimes our affliction or really avoidance. We sometimes, I feel like as a species, we tend toward to lean more toward um, conflict avoidance or self abandonment. And I think there is now, we can't afford that anymore. We can't afford, like you said, the friction. Looking at examining the friction is is necessary in order to imagine the future that you want to participate in, that you want to live in, the change that you want to see. You need to come to terms and you get to relate to your conflict avoidant tendencies. And yeah, do not be afraid of the things that is considered dark. I think sometimes that could be a way of not looking at the things that will improve our nature. And I think this is a
Yeah,
cautionary tale, is
it
that
is.
you need to deal with your shit.
Exactly. And that's what the species needs to understand. Because we
Yeah.
don't. We've created superabundance and we haven't thought about what happens with all the waste products. We literally don't deal with our shit. We the recycling movement actually doesn't work. We're not sustainable in what we do. And yet we can't regress to nature. That's just not who we are. Our yearning to improve and to become more comfortable and safer. I don't want to be a hunter-gatherer. There may have been a time when that was exactly what I needed, but that time is long gone. I don't want to be that. I want to be safe from being eaten by predators. I don't mind a bit of challenge and danger, but we're not going to go back there. So we have to come to terms with the fact that we're stewards of this ecosystem. And we've done a very, very bad job indeed. And even when attention was drawn to this problem some decades ago, we're actually not dealing with it even now. The world is not improving towards sustainability. The political motive is just not there. We've lost our authority to claim agency as a species, unfortunately.
And there is also the image is a jewelry shop. So in jewelry shops, you find diamonds, and we understand the pressure that is necessary for diamonds to be made and to shine, and to the process of the creation process of a diamond here for me is also kind of underlyingly within this, underneath this symbol, and the pressures, the frictions, the same thing that you mentioned, the pressures, dealing with your own pressure, looking at your own pressure, looking at what can the light or the reward, the reward that comes from doing the work, that comes from looking at those pressures, the jewelry shop, um and yeah, and this is like forgiveness. This is my forgiveness at saintly level. There is a lot of forgiveness. You need to forgive yourself. You need to forgive yourself. Start doing the work, because whatever that you're not doing is impacting all of us. And I think this is definitely a cautionary tale, and it reminds us of the importance of not being afraid of the pressures, but find ways. If you want to put your creativity towards something, put your creativity and imagination towards finding great ways to deal with the pressures, inner pressures.
Yeah, I think that the point is that if you learn forgiveness, then
Mm-hmm.
you improve upon your own nature.
Yeah.
As animals, we were not given to forgive other animals. That's not the animal nature. But as the human beings, we are. We've understood this principle of forgiveness, and we've raised it to the highest level of spiritual decency. That's quite an achievement for our species, despite all that I said earlier. Nevertheless, we understand that in principle, at least, forgiveness is a good thing, a saintly thing. That's quite an achievement for us to come up with that philosophy.
Yes. And this authority, I always remind myself that it is part of the Sabian expression. This batch, this Taurus 23, has to also deal with authority. So there is an aspect of how that leads when in the world making that you do. There is this authority that comes from doing that work, a more
I,
a more maybe ripe
yeah,
type of authority.
I think the authority that was present within this hum
Yeah.
monk that I referred to earlier, he didn't claim anything ever, but he was given the most sublime authority because of his humility as a
Yeah.
celebrity. And I think that would be lovely if authority was given to those who are saintly.
Okay. So now we're going to our last point, the seventh of our Elven Star of Neptune, shimmering between the worlds of fact and fancy, ungroundedness, mystical beauty, loss of self, awe.
Yeah, it's just wow. Isn't life amazing? It's that feeling. Now, once again, we've got a very apt Sabian symbol. Libra 27 is an aeroplane hovering overhead, and it refers to spiritual perspective. So, for the seventh point to align with spiritual perspective is uncanny. Beyond polarity, there is transcendence. This is a state of consciousness wherein we have no attachment to one thing or another, no confusion about the merits of this or that, and neither love nor will is supreme, because we can see that the bigger picture requires both dynamism and serenity, both separation and merging. Very high level of wisdom, isn't it?
Yeah.
To see that however much we have prayed for light and angelic forces to descend within us, actually the higher wisdom is the balance of dark and light in a person, in a culture as well. And that's not much understood. It's not much taught. It's generally the case that dark energies are thought to be evil. And a lot of our religions are based on that principle. It's just not realistic. We have to embrace the animal within us. And those are the lower energies. The lower energies are dark energies. They're just animal nature, and my animal side is as loved in myself as my angelic side for sure. Most people would say that if they were being honest, I think.
Beyond polarity, there is transcendence.
Yeah, well, that's a high state of being where you don't care whether it's right or left. You don't care whether it's good or bad. You're in that transcendental state, which is there for us one day, but not while we're still in a body. We can touch upon transcendence and inhabit it for a very brief period of time, but eventually we have to descend one side of the line. So the dualities that we experience in life, let's say hurt and anger, it's the same energy, just expressed in the yang or yin form, we could say. You can get into that transcendental state where you just notice that you've been hurt and you could express anger. But that noticing can only last for a brief moment. And then you've got to come down and either shout or cry. Such is life in the realm of polarity.
Yeah, it's rising above daily concerns to grasp spiritual ideas. I think it really speaks to not sitting out, not sitting, um, not sitting on our hands out of fear, and that we might not concretize a future that we want to be in. And I think there is this faith um associated with the imagination of a future. And this is not coming from me. It's a wonderful woman that I follow on Instagram who said it. We need to start imagining a future that when we get through, like what is it that you, and the get through is the transcendence. What is it that you imagine, that you feel is participating in our collective freedom, collective liberation, whatever that means to us? um what is it that you think that you are creating that is participating in that? And
Yeah, the thing about that, like, if you were to look at the religious teachings over millennia,
yeah.
they've all been based on this principle. Let's imagine that we can live like this. But I don't get that that would work. I think the very capacity we have to imagine what will work that we want has yet to arise within us.
Bruh.
And
Okay.
the languaging of all of these visions, like we go to heaven and we're in the realm of
Mm-hmm.
the angels playing the harps, it's just nonsense. If it's anything like reality, I don't want that. That's not a life for me, just to sit around listening to harp music. I know it's
Mm-hmm.
metaphorical, but it's bad metaphor. It doesn't work for me. And when people speak up the preferred vision that they've got for the future, it doesn't suit me at all. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want everyone to be nice to each other. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want that. that's boring or false, hypocritical.
Yeah.
It's something. Yeah, maybe I got to be trained to like that. Fine, but right now the man that I am doesn't want that. I just want a curtailment of the extent to which we express conflict. I don't think it's a good idea to hurt people just because you are conflicted with them. I would like
Yeah.
that to end. And so on. I don't think it's a good idea to have a vast difference between the rich and the poor, but neither do I want equality. You know, that level of idealism, like that gave rise to communism, it doesn't work. It's just not who we are. We're human beings, once upon a time animals, you know, and we have to embrace that within our current vision of the next step. We may well evolve into like enlightened beings that don't have any faults, but I can't imagine that. That's not my next vision.
Yeah. And I do believe, and I believe that the visions that you just mentioned is a vision where that is still including freedom.
Freedom is an absolute. We're all free. We're just expressing that freedom very badly because of our negative conditioning. There is no other reality at the level that that can be accessed even with our low level of consciousness. You can express freedom. It's just that people don't choose to. They buy into the myth that they're wage slaves and they're caught up in relationships and so on. And that's self-imposed constraints. That's the freedom. That's what they've done with their freedom. They've constrained themselves for the most part, but it's not necessary. We're all free. Free will exists. You know, it's an absolute. I have to affirm that as an article of my faith.
Yeah. Okay. I think that concludes our exploration.
Yeah, I think all in all, my sense is that we're all confused about where we're going. Nobody really knows what's coming. And we can't even agree upon what would be a good thing to come next. That there's such a great disagreement now about what would be an ideal future that we're just in that period when we just have to wait a little bit until some visionary future can be put forward that a certain number of us can collectively agree with. And I don't think that exists. There is no Messiah. There is no visionary messenger, as there have been from time to time in my lifetime. People like John Lennon or Martin Luther King or Mahatma Gandhi a bit earlier, and so on. Sometimes there is a visionary spokesperson for the age, but I don't know who that would be right now. And I haven't seen one for a very long time.
Yeah. Maybe everyone has it's no longer about the visibility of one spokesperson, but the responsibility of each of us to co-create that.
Yeah, that is the case. I agree with that entirely, and that's why Pluto in Aquarius is so exciting. Is that where it must be where we're going? But Neptune in Aries, like the visionary person, might be um, a hero or a pioneer or you know somebody Aries like that kind of warrior mentality. That might be the vision of a hero and a messiah that we're going to follow. I think a messiah, the energy of a messiah is very Aries like, I think. You know, I think Christ as a personality had a lot of Aries qualities, despite initiating the age of air of Pisces. He was actually, you know, quite an initiator of things. And I think that kind of visionary initiative might be something that we have to look for now.